Okay, today I'm working on this first generation turn signal switch, replacing it. And I wanted to point out a few things that could hopefully pass along to make it a little easier if you're replacing this, or if you're wondering about the color codes on these wires. First of all, the one that I've got here, and seems to be working pretty good so far from past purchases, is this one from Rock Auto. I got it for about $100 including shipping. And you can see the two different part numbers there for cross-reference. The AC Delco number is D6202 and the GM number is 910821. So these are pretty standard. This one I like because it has a lot of the features that normally come on the first gen, and that is in part these curved connector pieces here. Now, some of these that I've found have a single straight connector, which of course we don't use on the first gens or the second gens. So what you'd have to do is pull those connectors all out, which you're gonna have to do anyway to fish it through the passageway to get these wires hooked up, and then reuse these curved pieces. So on this particular one, it comes with the correct curved connectors. You notice that there's 4 wires in one and 3 wires in the other. That's normal. But another thing I wanted to point out is that especially on the 3-wire connector, there's some, and this is another first gen turn signal switch, they have a little bit different color code. If you notice, this is black with a yellow stripe, and this is the corresponding wire. It's just flat yellow. Same thing with this one here. It's black with a white stripe, and then this one is just a solid white. Haven't seen too much difference on these purple wires, although this one kind of looks like it's got purple with a white stripe, but that just could be the color, and that's the corresponding one. So if you're wondering about how these things are different, that's somehow a little bit, can be a little bit strange. This is another one where you see the wires are all pretty consistent. There's no stripes on them, they're just solid colors. But if you're unlucky enough to have a bunch of paint or crud on them, then you might have to follow it up all the way up to the connector to see what the difference is. So just wanted to point that out before you get too far into it. Just something to be aware of. Okay, before we put this turn signal switch on, we're going to have to pull these terminals out of the connector because they're too big to go through this small slot on that steering tube. So these are some acceptable tools. We're going to try and see which one works the best. Now, if you notice, there's a raised up portion on the top here, and that's where the tab is hooked up. So we need to go from the other side, push in with that wire. Of course, you've got all these marked, or you've got that access to that video I showed with all the color codes. And come on, baby. Well, let's try the other one. Yeah, that's not working. I don't have much luck on this. Sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, so here's the tab that you're trying to bend down. Maybe I just wasn't pulling hard enough. push in on that. Bend it down. Push in. And down. A little mark on that. Okay. There we go. Take this over and install it into the steering column. Okay, so I want to fish this through here first. Make sure it's about the right spot. And then fish these through here. One or two at a time. Purple wire, I'm gonna need you. Getting crowded in there. There we go. Doesn't seem to be going on there nice and smooth. Don't know why. I gotta socket and tap that on there. that's going on there tight. It's not going to be much fun getting off. Can't remember one going on that hard. Okay, had a little issue and had to pull that housing off. I wanted to show you what the story was. When I had this on there, I noticed that the slot for the turn signal was not lining up. It was way too high. And what I found out was that this turn signal switch was slightly turned, and I wasn't able to get that on there all the way. So I'll have to be mindful about how far I twist this, because it was up about like that, and that was not good. So we're going to try this again. Also, the other thing was that the screw holes were not lining up, and so we're going to put a few guides in there. But first we're gonna take a shot at this one more time. Get these wires through there. And this is a good example of what I really want to show on these videos, is not so much how everything goes right, but how everything can go wrong and how to deal with it. No sense in trying to show a video that makes you look like a super mechanic, because, you know, no matter how much you know and how much you learn, how many times you do stuff, you're always going to run into stuff, and that's how you learn, is by running into stuff. So ideally, you would be able to pass on your experience to other people, which is what I'm trying to do here. So if it all looks like it's going too well, then if your luck is like mine, then well, usually doesn't go all fine like that. So I believe one of the issues was that I had this turned on a little too far. I'm going to try it like that and see how this lines up. The other thing is that there's an indentation on the base of this housing to accommodate this screw, and that's what was, I believe, holding it up a little bit higher than it needed to be. So we're going to make sure that that gets lined up in there straight. Once again, I don't know why this darn upper bearing goes on tight, but I am going to try to make sure that it goes on there clocked correctly. All right, let's try this again. Sure, we got this screw hole lined up. It should rotate, but once it got on there, it sure didn't want to. small. There's my other screw hole. Make sure this is lined up. Still lined up. Okay, that looks okay. This one looks a little questionable. Alright, let's give it a little more tap. Sounded good. That looks reasonable. That looks a little questionable. If that fits in there. And it doesn't. I darn thing just doesn't fit in there at all. Well, I might have to do some modifying here. I'm not sure what the story is. That is a standard fitting.